Looks like Caleb is going for the combo play, but anticipated by Onion Frank. Look at that, catching this aerial ace onto the Skarmory.
Great anticipation all game from Onion Frank.
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. We are back with another Caleb's Pro Tips series, and today we're going to talk about countering the combo play. The combo play is actually part of another video in the Pro Tips series, so be sure to check out that video first. Because this is essentially the follow-up to that, where if you already learn the combo play or know what it is, this is how you kind of play around it, especially against experienced players that know what they're doing, that know the combo play. This is one way to kind of outplay them in those scenarios. To counter the combo play, something you need to understand is when you should be utilizing that strategy and also the kind of opponents you're facing. So especially against more experienced players, they're more likely to go for a combo play, and sometimes you have to recognize that that's their only win condition, and your only win condition yourself is to counter it. There's a few different ways you can execute countering the combo plays, so let's take a look at some footage from my GBL battles. Before we get into the battles, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons who've been supporting my content creation. If you'd like private one-on-one coaching, against me, some of my league guides and strategies ahead of time, or even tune into my live stream battles, feel free to sign up through the Patreon link down below. In this first game, we're going to kind of do a more traditional countering the combo play where you bring a Pokemon in and you swap out to something else, expecting them to kind of aggressively come in themselves. So obviously not a great lead matchup, not a great counter swap matchup either. So my strategy here is I'm going to try to just stall the timer a little bit and then swap out to my own Bastion. Essentially what I need is my Whiscash to take out their Bastion, because I don't really have a lot of other options. I have the mirror for sure, but I don't really know what they have in the back. And so I bring in my own Bastion and draw out their Sableye. So, not too bad for me, because now I have the Whiscash for the Bastion. And this is good for me for a couple of reasons. Mainly because my Bastion can win me Switch Advantage. So, then I could get the Mana Buzz on top of the Trevenant, and I can get my Whiscash on top of the Bastion. The only problem is that Trevenant left with energy. So, I'm anticipating them coming in with their Trevenant after my Bastion goes down and taking me out with Seed Bomb. Because the moment that my Whiscash is out of the picture, this Bastion is going to completely steamroll the Mana Buzz. So they're not going to come into Trevenant into my Bastion right now, but it's more so the moment my Bastion goes down. So they're going to come in loaded with energy. They're going to anticipate me coming in Whiscash into their Bastion, right? There's no reason for me to come in Mana Buzz. So I come in Whiscash here, and I'm slowing down the footage to regular speed now, and that's how you counter the combo play. So they don't want to stay in that matchup regularly, right? So they're going to come in aggressively with their Trevenant to try to snipe me down with the Seed Bomb. And if I don't react fast enough, if I don't swap right when I did, I lose my Whiscash and I lose the game. But because of this, I'm able to preserve my Whiscash, and it still has half health, and it's going to be able to finish off this Bastion, because, yeah, I mean, because the type advantage and also the health on it, it's a little too much. And you can see here, I'm going for the aerial ace just to stall the timer a little bit. I think I go for my own combo play here. Oh, no, I end up just swapping over to my Whiscash. I just didn't want them to come away with too much energy. But I end up getting to the Mud Bomb in time anyway, because they can't stack two Stone Edges. So yeah, bad lead, bad counter swap, but pivoting out to my Bastion and then anticipating their combo play was a huge factor there. So that's coming in with your Pokemon, swapping out, expecting them to come in with it. They only had 2 Pokemon remaining at that point too, and it was pretty obvious that it was going to happen, so I did swap over. Now, the most important factor is if you are in a situation where that's not the case, and you know, let's say I brought in my Mana Buzz and they never swapped to their Trevenant, they just win the game. They just have Bastion into it. So it's really anticipating your opponent's play, right? Because less experienced player may not swap away to that swap straight away to that Trevenant at that point in time. So in this situation, I obviously have a good lead matchup and a good backline matchup. So I'm in a pretty comfortable position here. I have switch advantage and everything. Things are looking pretty good. And then here's going to be a Whiscash. So even though I have the switch advantage and counter swap and the backline matchup, this game's not over. Because the main thing is that Charge Bug left with energy, right? They were able to farm down my Mana Buzz. They have a lot of energy stored. They have a discharge. And over the course of 4 shields, right, 2 shields on each side and all these charge attacks, it's going to stall the timer to the point where they're able to come in with the charge bug and snipe me with the discharge. So that's something I have to watch out for. And you can see I'm slowing down here. I recognize the timer's up on my side, which means the timer's up on their side. And because of that, they're going for this play. Because similar to my last game, when I had the Whiscash, they need their Whiscash for this Clodsire, right? But they're not able to get it on. And you can see they threw discharge. So you knew that they intentionally went for the combo play there. Otherwise, they would have gone for the X-Scissor. But we anticipated it. And we avoid the Whiscash on my Clodsire, which is super nice. And we still have the Feraligatr with some health in the back. And I have a bunch of energy on this Clodsire. So this is one of those times where a situation you might see in combo play situations is you're both throwing a bunch of charge attacks, stalling the timer, and then freeing up the timer so that they could go for a combo play. So always paying attention to your timer is very key, especially when the timers are super closely aligned, right? Like in that situation. In this final game, it's going to be also a counter and combo play situation, but slightly different than the other two that I've shown. And you can see here on my line, I have Mana Buzz in the lead with the Bastion in the back and Whiscash here, and I have the Whiscash on the Trevenant. So similar to that first game, I need to save this Trevenant for that Regiseal. So I'm going to preserve it as long as I can, and then stall the timer a little bit, and probably bring in my Mana Buzz. Okay, so they actually give up switch advantage, which is really nice for me. But here's the problem. I need this Whiscash for the Regiseal. So I'm actually going to give up switch advantage and essentially pivoting out, right? If they stay in Azumarill into his Mana Buzz, the Regiseal has no utility. So I knew they were going to come in Regiseal. But key thing to note is that their Azumarill left with energy. So they're probably going to go for a combo play. Here's the other key point to note is that they also know that I left with energy, right? I had a bunch of energy on my Whiscash, right? Almost back-to-back Mud Bombs. Maybe 2 Mud Bombs already loaded. So they know that if I take out this Regiseal, they're going to be in trouble, right? So here's what I do. I actually bring in Bastion into Regiseal. Now, this is a pretty good situation for me because there's 2 reasons why this is good. One, I'm anticipating their combo play, right? So instead of, it's not one of the situations where I'm swapping out of a potential snipe, I'm bringing in the worst Pokemon into the matchup because I'm anticipating the combo play. And so that's how I was able to play around that one. But in twofold, that was a pretty safe strategy for me too. Because let's say my opponent wasn't going for the combo play. Then I guess come in Bastion. They don't have back-to-back Focus Blast ready. I could potentially still combo play myself with my own Whiscash when they're not expecting it. So it's kind of a win-win scenario, right? So I could implement a counter combo play situation there, or I could combo play myself if they don't go for the combo play themselves. I know that was a lot of words, but feel free to rewatch the video if you don't understand it. But overall, this is a really solid strategy, especially against experienced players. And you can see all these opponents here are very experienced, and you can tell from their gameplay that they knew what they're doing, and you kind of had to go one step above to kind of beat them in these situations. Obviously, this is not just useful in GBL, but it's also great in Show 6 Pick 3 formats, especially in the Championship Series format. So I'm going to show a brief clip my opponent here, Onion Frank, who actually countered my combo play attempts at a tournament I was at.
Here. Doesn't want to take another body slam, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he didn't want to put himself too low so he couldn't throw a charge attack or get knocked out by that counter or let a body slam go through. Here comes double pivot, and here comes the Whiscash, and Onion Frank's kind of shaking his head a little bit. He's just reaching for that Scald debuff, and if he doesn't land this Scald debuff, that gives a lot of play for the Power Whip to one-hit knock out, and can he land it? Here comes the Protect Shield. Will the coin flip in Onion Frank's favor? No!
Doesn't get it. Is going to have to shield with this first move unless he wants to call this body slam from Caleb. It's kind of an odd. Oh my goodness, he calls it!
He calls the body slam bait, and it shakes his head knowing that that was coming, and that could have been Caleb's opportunity to land a Power Whip in between 2 Protect Shields, but it doesn't happen.
That could have been game for Caleb, taking out this Whiscash and then having enough health on that Lickitung to take out the Skarmory, but he's not out of it yet. He still needs to land another charge attack on this Whiscash.
And here comes the decision from Onion Frank to use a Protect Shield. There comes the Protect Shield onto the body slam. Looks like Caleb at this point will just go straight body slam here. And the Skarmory is less than half health, so you can take it down eventually. Do you go for the body slam? in before the Scald. Do you try to swap on a Scald here? Can you get the last Protect Shield? Now Onion Frank suddenly out of Protect Shields.
Out of Protect Shields, but like you said, still has that Skyrmer. Looks like Caleb is going for the combo play, but anticipated by Onion Frank. Look at that, catching this aerial ace onto the Skyrmer.
Great anticipation all game from Onion Frank, and now it's a resisted aerial ace, knowing that was going to be incoming into that Whiscash, and now he can get that Steel Wing down. And there's
looking at that footage here, he spent his final shield on my Lickitung, and at that point in time, he probably wasn't in aerial ace range, but he knew I had aerial ace banked on my Gligar. So the problem is, if he spent that final shield, he's shieldless, and if I land an aerial ace, he's either going to get his Whiscash taken now, or more likely than not, it's within lick range. I lick it down, I still have a shield remaining, I can finish off the Skarmory, and then he loses the game. So because of that, he actually wastes my energy on my Gligar, anticipating that, right? Game number 3, tournament life on the line, going for that play, but recognizing that I have energy, and it's a play that I might go for. You can see him even thinking about this before making that play, right? He's sitting there thinking like, yeah, he has energy banked on Gligar. This is probably what he's going to implement doing. I didn't show the rest of the clip because he ended up losing that game, but it was more so because he forgot which side his move was on. Overall, the strategy is definitely something you should be aware of, and especially as you climb the ranks in GBL or you face tough opponents in official tournament format series or even grassroots tournaments, just recognizing that if your opponent is smart enough to make that combo play or has energy banked, right, and the timer's coming up and all these factors, then one of your win conditions, or maybe your only win condition, is to counter the combo play. If this video is helpful for you, feel free to share with others as well, especially those trying to get into Pokemon Go PvP. I know a lot of these things are not really explained within the game, or these are strategies that people learn over the years, but I think they're very important strategies for everyone to be aware of and know. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share, subscribe for future content, hit that notification bell to get alerted right when I post a new video. And me and Cranberry will catch you all next time. Peace out.